Good morning from Disturbia on the 16th of March. Recently, we've heard in the news, seen on internet and on YouTube, the information disseminated that not only can men marry men, women marry women, but they can also, these so-called same-sex couples who are married can adopt children. And as far as I've become aware, the sodomites want to have children who are related to them, and it has now become possible to use the DNA of two men to form a child, which is then born by a surrogate. They are really tempting God and mocking God with their depravity. I have an article here. Greece has become the first Christian Orthodox-majority country to legalize same-sex marriage. Now, it's so interesting to me why they say same-sex. Why don't they call it homosexual or lesbian, or even more correctly, sodomite? You see, they change names, just like Esau changed his name from Esau to Jew. They're changing the language to lessen the blow, to water down, and to lessen the impact of what's really happening. Greece has become the first Christian Orthodox majority country to legalize same-sex marriage. On January 15th, it's the same problem I always have, Greece's parliament voted 176 to 76 in favor, granting same-sex couples the legal right to marry and adopt children within the country. And this is my comment. Legal is not necessarily lawful. You see, because if it were lawful, they wouldn't call it legal. They know they're going against God's laws. They're really raising their fist into the face of God. It says here the bill needed a majority to pass through the 300-member parliament. The prime minister asserted that the new law would boldly abolish a serious inequality. What does that mean? They're boldly abolishing the laws of God. They're trampling upon them. People who have been invisible will finally be made visible around us, and with them many children will finally find their rightful place. Oh my gosh, what does that mean? That means that homo men are adopting boys and homo women are adopting girls. Why? In my opinion, the whole drive for homosexual marriage, sodomite marriage, is so that they can so-called legally adopt children. Why? In order to perpetuate the sodomy, of course. What are the chances of two men raising a boy or boys that they do not abuse? I would say nil. That means sodomite men create out of their children sodomite boys and adults, who of course do not want to be fruitful and multiply in the way that God requires. Here it says, adoptive gay couple charged with sodomizing their adoptive sons also pimped them out to local men and sent out videos of them raping the boys. Full horror of mysteriously wealthy couples' sordid lives revealed in jaw-dropping court documents. Now, whether or not this is real or so-called fake news, I do not know, but the very fact that we are being shown that this is in our face. Here are the two sodomites right here. It says our names at the bottom. I'm going to turn this off so I can read it. Harry Clay Lawless, well, there you go. What are the chances of his name being lawless? Luis Armando Vicaro Sanchez are also in custody. Lawless told police the Zulaks offered their boys up to him multiple times. Oh, I see. Harry Clay Lawless was a person who was looking for a boy to abuse. They offered up their boys multiple times. He was arrested for downloading a large amount of child porn that was traced by police to his Gmail address. Vicaro Sanchez is in custody on a range of unrelated child sex crime allegations. Police say the Zulaks contacted him too. Okay, their name is Zulak. Now, like I said, whether or not this is true, I do not know in this case, but I'm sure that it could just simply be a substitute for some other people, because obviously when you have sodomites, you have abuse, child abuse. I've seen this very often in my own life. Here it says, the two children are the custody of the state. You see, they're holding hands, which is, I'm not saying it's, not brotherly to hold hands, but in here the whole family is together, the whole gay family. Take a look at this guy's hair. Really strange. I think it could be a fake, but I do think it still happens, and they are showing us that it happens through this fake. Now, I wanted to discuss and show you this man. His name is Dennis Allen Gall, and it says, Mississippi man arrested in Tennessee for child rape after messaging undercover agent. Now, what happened was this man here was already arrested in the early, I think he was arrested, in fact, in 2000, because he was molesting a child that he was, a boy, of course, that he was babysitting. And it says here the name of the boy, her mother, they don't say what his name is, but they call the mother Dawn and Gary Miller. Said that Dennis Gall moved in with them, her and her husband, when her son was 2 years old. 6 months later, a friend, Dennis Gall, came to live with them in Chalmette, wherever that is. The three adults and the child lived together at that location for 7 to 8 months, at which time Gary, Dawn, and DP, who is the name of the boy, the child, who is 2 years old, moved away. They moved into an apartment and remained at that location until April 1999. Dawn testified that during that time, Gall visited frequently, often babysat DP, and frequently spent the night on the sofa at the apartment. Well, it's been my experience, and I have experienced this, that when you have a male babysitting for a male, then something is often going on that is very untoward. Anita White testified that she was a friend of Dennis Gall. She stated that she and her husband had attended school with him and knew him by his name Spanky, which sort of intimates sadomasochism. According to Mrs. White, in April 1999, Gall told her that he had something to tell her that she would not like, but he had to disclose. Mrs. White inquired whether Gall had killed someone, and he told her no. She asked him if he had raped anyone. Mrs. White testified that Gall responded that it depends on your definition of rape. You see, these people that commit sodomy, they are always trying to relativize what they have done. Mrs. White told Gall that she did not care to hear what he had to say. Later that evening, Gall disclosed to her that he was gay, and he had sex with someone who was very young. Sex with someone who was very young. Mrs. White was aware that he had lived with Gary and Dawn, and she asked if it was DP. According to Mrs. White, Gall admitted having had sex with DP and he told her that he would kill himself before he would go to jail. Mrs. White told Gall to tell the child's mother because she would tell her if he didn't. So the long and the short of it is, what happened was this Dennis Allen Gall had abused the boy by putting his finger in his rectum and making the boy take the adult's penis in his child mouth. And he also peed on the boy. This is what he said. He said, DP told her that Spanky also, he hurt him and he peed on him. You see, this is what sodomites do. They're sick in the head. And we're being forced to accept sodomite so-called marriage and adoption of children as normal. This is the so-called new normal, and it is completely depraved, and it is going to perpetuate depravity within these so-called families. Anyway, what happened to this Mississippi man was that he was sentenced to 5 years hard labor, and when he got out, at 49, Dennis Allen Gall was attempting to schedule a mid-December birthday trip to sexually assault an infant at the hotel in South Central Tennessee City. In reality, Gall was communicating with an undercover FBI agent on the Telegram app. Gall told the undercover agent that he was a contract chef for an offshore hiring company. In other words, he did not want his true identity disclosed. He said he was seeking the sexual company of children of all ages up to 12 years old. He also admitted being a sex offender. Sorry for the back and forth, but I just can't read it with the screen, with the camera screen in front of it. After conversing through the messaging app about a possible meetup with a 10-month-old infant, a possible meetup with a 10-month-old. This is what this guy gets his rocks off on. Pardon my language. Gall told the agent that he would love to play sexually with the child, and then it would be a dream come true. A dream come true. Can you imagine this child? Can you imagine this other boy, DP, how he is now? What happens with sodomites, what happens with infants when they are sodomized is they become sodomites. Or they don't know what exactly occurred to them, but they dream of sodomy. I've read this also. Many would-be sodomites fight against this urge and kill themselves. The FBI, after confirming Gall's identity and via his phone number, was able to conduct a background check on the suspect, which revealed that he had previously faced legal repercussions for molesting a child he babysat in the year 2000. Gall's, G-A-A-L-S, alleged sexual abuse against children began with him molesting a 2-month-old nephew until the boy turned 5. The child predator told the agent that he had violated 3 boys and would typically touch them inappropriately while they were awake. The undercover agent and Gall remained in communication and ultimately settled upon a meetup with the infant at the Hotel Chalet in Chattanooga on Monday, December 11th, the suspect's 49th birthday. Prior to the scheduled encounter, Gall is said to have sent the agent an image of 5 infant outfits along with a toy that he had bought for the child. Gall arrived at the hotel on Monday and was met by agents who took him into custody and booked him in jail. He is charged with child rape as well as 2 counts of solicitation of a minor. This is what these people do. I'm not saying that girls are not also what was the word that they used here? Pimped out. Girls are also pimped out, but I'm telling you, this world is a sodomite world. The forces that should not be are sodomites. Satan requires sodomy for degradation of the image of God in mankind. Mankind. So what have we got here? We've got Sir Elton John, his husband, and 2 children that they were able to adopt. The children were born by a surrogate or a surrogates that Elton John knows. Both of us have longed to have children, but the reality that we now have 2 sons is almost unbelievable. Yes, I should say it is unbelievable, and it is outrageous. The 2 kids' names are Zachary and Elijah. Now, here we have, can gay men adopt in Florida? And what is this man? It's a man with a boy. A gay man is never in his life going to adopt, if he is allowed to, a girl. Here it says, parent sexuality influences adoption choices. You can look this up all on the internet. The study looks at heterosexual, lesbian, and gay male couples' preferences when choosing the gender of child. Normally, a normal couple says, we are happy to adopt either one. We just want to have a child, you see. But a gay is fixated on the phallus, and that is the truth. A couple's sexual orientation determines whether or not they prefer to adopt a boy or a girl. Gays are more likely to have gender preference for their adopted child. Why? Because they are infatuated with the phallus and with anal, so-called sex. God calls it fornication and whoredom. There was a preponderance of of boys adopted by gay fathers. And here I have a link, which I will leave in the box, comment box. I just wanted to show you that this is why there is a push for gays, because what they want is sodomites to be able to adopt boys, to sodomize them, to perpetuate this sickness in our society. And of course, it's all about Sodom and Gomorrah. Take 2, it's all about the Tower of Babel, descent into hell.